And now on deck with the Tom Sox, hosted by Ben Rekosh.
Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of On Deck with the Tom Sox, the official podcast of your Charlottesville Tom Sox. I am, as always, your host, Ben Rekosh, and I have today a great interview with one of our players, JD Wolff. He plays for the Air Force Academy, an outfielder for us. Only be with the Tom Sox for a couple of weeks, which I recorded on Thursday, June 12th, before our game, which ultimately ended up being a loss. But nonetheless, it was a really, really positive conversation with JD Wolff. So, unfortunately, due to some technical difficulties, only about half of the conversation is available right here. So I do apologize for that, but the half that is available is really, really good. So once again, apologies for some technical difficulties here with my conversation with Tom Sox outfielder and utility man JD Wolff, but it's a good one nonetheless, and I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, here is my conversation with JD Wolff.
I'm joined by a very special guest on today's podcast episode On Deck with the Tom Sox. Of course, I'm Ben Rekosh, the host of the official podcast of your Charlottesville Tom Sox. I am joined for Military Appreciation Day with JD Wolff. JD Wolff, an outfielder, really kind of a do-it-all guy, currently plays for and is with the Air Force Academy. JD, you're the first ever Tom Sox player to have played and have been at one of the service academies. Does that honor mean anything to you?
It's definitely special. It's unique. It just kind of reminds me that what I get to do every day is a little bit different, and should carry myself in that kind of way and just hold myself to just a higher standard, and it's inspiring.
So take me through your schedule when you're at the Air Force. How do you incorporate baseball, your classes, your training, and everything? Go from when you wake up to when you go to sleep.
Most days I get up between 5:30 and 6, depending if we have a morning brief or not. First period's at 8, so I'll get up, I'll shower, shave.
And you have to take, by first period, you mean like classes like everybody else has to take? Like yes. You have to take an English class and a math class and everything like that?
Yep. We have a really big core from Math 141 to Astronautical Engineering.
Wow.
It's all laid out, but it's all part of the core classes at the Academy you take over the 4 years. And so I get to school around 8. Then I have classes from 8 to 12.
So run me through what some of your classes are. Sorry to interrupt you again, but just run me through what they offer at the Air Force Academy.
This year it was all core classes, but this last semester was on my, M days was English and physics. And then on T days was Math 200, which is like Calc 2.
Okay.
Calc 2, I'm trying to think. Behavioral Sciences, and one more. I took 5. Took 6 in the fall. Took Computer Science, Chemistry,
So on top of all of your baseball training and your Air Force training, you have to take undergraduate classes like everybody else in the country does.
Absolutely, and we take more we take more credit hours than most colleges. Either way, so our core is really extensive. They believe it's good to have a wide range of education as an Air Force officer.
All right,
next year I'll be taking mechanical engineering, and then aeronautical as a junior and astro as a senior. So
you wake up around 5:30. You go to class from about 8 to 12, and then what's next?
Noon meal formation. We all we form up on the terrazzo, sing the Air Force song, and then march to lunch.
That's awesome.
Every single day. Then you share a meal with your people at your table, and the table's assigned, and take 20 minutes and eat real fast, and then most days it's off to practice.
Okay.
So then get down to the field around 1, 2 o'clock. There's times we'll have military stuff around 1, like military briefing.
Okay.
But most days we'll start practice at 2, go till like 5 or 6, including lift. And then you gotta walk. It's a good walk from the hill up on the hill down to the baseball field. So it probably takes up to an hour both ways, depending.
And then where do you fit flying planes into this equation?
That really hasn't started yet.
Okay.
This summer is my introduction to powered flight. So they kind of do that during the summer, but the real intense flying, undergraduate pilot training doesn't start till after you commission, after you graduate.
So I read that, and you talked about this with Daniel Stein a couple of days ago, that you're in Cadet Squadron 18. What does that mean, and how does the process come about?
Squads are completely random, divided up. I think there's a little bit that goes into it, but I don't really know. It's a good mix of people. The academy's broke 4,000 cadets, roughly 1,000 in each class.
Okay.
40 squadrons, so that means there's about 100 people in each squad, more or less. And so this year I was assigned Squad 18 from basic cadet training through the end of the year. Then now I'm going to Squad 40
Okay.
for the next 3 years. And I think that's random. They mix it up, try and give you a fresh start in your new squad. And yeah, it's really special, the bond you make with your squad mates and the people there, because they're so different than you are, or at least than I am. But you all help each other out. So many neat people from neat places, and very smart, a lot of smart people.
And you were talking about this with Daniel too, is that one of the things that you said you liked, you have your friends, which are teammates for the baseball team, but you also have everybody in your squadrons and everybody else that's not necessarily baseball centric. And for a lot of universities, that's not always the case. You kind of have your team, and that's the people that you hang out with. But for you kind of have everybody.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'm very close with the people on my team, but also there's people I can go up to in my squad that I can spend time with and hang out with. And there was one of the rules freshman year for first semesters, you can't go visit other squads. So you really have to rely on the people in your squad, or you're just going to be bored out of your mind.
So let's take it all the way back to Greencastle, Pennsylvania. You grew up in a small town in the south of Pennsylvania. Tell me about what Greencastle was like, if sports were a big deal, things like that.
Yeah, small town, like I said in the last time, everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
My family's family just goes back a few generations. Small farming town, but now it's starting to industrialize a little bit. Little League was a big deal.
Yeah.
Just playing against your buddies every night. But yeah, I spent my time there before I moved to the DR.
Yeah.
In middle school for a year. But it definitely served a big role, especially playing basketball there, competing with my friends and just playing year round. Summer sports in the summer, spring, baseball, then basketball, winter, and
So were you on the varsity basketball team?
no, I never went to high school there. I was on the 8th grade middle school team. That was probably one of my...
What was your game like? Were you good?
Yeah, I could play.
You were good.
I could hoop a little bit. I was just the white guy who sat in the corner and shot.
Awesome. So then you went to IMG Academy, of course, skipping over Dominican Republic, we can talk about that in a second, but IMG Academy, it's kind of like a who's who of the most talented guys in every single sport there. Would you say that's accurate?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. What's it like? Compare your schedule, I guess, in college, because I find this really interesting when I ask people who go to prep school for baseball or for basketball or what have you, that the schedule there kind of mimics what a college schedule is like. It's all ball all the time. There's class in there, but you're really focused on working on your craft all day.
Yeah, I think IMG gets a bad rap. Oh, there's no school, this, that. I mean, it is, you're going to school for half a day, which is like it is at most colleges. And if you choose to push yourself, they have AP honors classes, which I was fortunate enough to take, and had some wonderful teachers while I was at IMG. And so it really, if you really apply yourself, you can push yourself, and that schedule, I think it really set me up well for Air Force. There's some things and maybe some different classes, particularly computer science, I wish I would have taken, have going in. Other than that, I have no regrets. My education at IMG was great, and that kind of schedule allows you to put in the hours you need to pursue your craft, but still get a high quality education. So again, half day, it's pretty much the same thing I'm living now, but maybe a morning or an afternoon brief thrown in there for military stuff.
So as I kind of just mentioned, you lived in the Dominican Republic for 1 year. One of the things I talked about with Coach Jim Darren is just the passion that those people have for baseball. They wake up and they want to get better at baseball. It's all baseball all the time. If they have a goal in mind, then they will do what it takes to accomplish that. Tell me about your experience there, why you kind of moved there, and what you saw from a baseball perspective in the DR.
Yeah. So I guess just the big thing with the passion, they're just passionate people in general. They care. They certainly love what they do and the people around them. That's what's really special about them. And they invited me into their community, and they really are truly special people. They know family is more than just blood, and so that's why I love it there, first and foremost. Why I went there, I wanted to learn Spanish and play baseball.
That's awesome.
That was always a goal of mine. I said last week, like when I was 7, I wasn't able to speak with kids at a baseball field, and that made little 7-year-old JD sad. And I became determined to go out, learn Spanish, and through the help of my friend Joel Peralta, which he was the one that kind of encouraged me to make the move, because he's like, listen, the only way you're going to do this is if you're truly immersed in the culture and learn it. And so we took that step, did that in middle school, and I picked it up pretty quick because I was still young enough. Baseball-wise, they're just a lot more just skill work, and they'll play games on weekends, but they'll play pickup games, this, that, and another thing, but it's just like honing your skills in a lot. They don't play as much, which may come as a shock, I don't know. But it's just skill work, skill work, skill work, wash, rinse, repeat. But they'll get after it too, like in the weight room, they'll definitely get their running in. They run a good amount, and they're not afraid to beat a tire to death.
Yeah.
So
that guides me to kind of another topic I want to talk about is, you're fluent in Spanish, and you wouldn't think of it if somebody knew you as just a guy from a small town in Pennsylvania who plays baseball now in Colorado and in Charlottesville and all over the world, but you do speak Spanish, and that's kind of been a benefit with this year's team, whether it be you talking trash with Gian and Adonis and Jesus, or just communicating throughout the game. Talk about how that skill set has kind of helped you this summer and throughout your life.
Yeah, this summer it's good to be able to be real with guys, and it just brings you close together right away. It's like just knowing you speak each other's language, especially with Jesus, that he grew up speaking in Venezuela. Throughout my life, I've just seen it brighten so many people. Whether it's just someone at the airport that that speaks Spanish, and you just say, "Have a good, tiene buen día," just have a good day, right? And they get very happy and excited that you're trying to speak their language, or someone you just meet on the airplane, and they're just, once they get over that shock of, okay, this is some random white dude speaking Spanish, they just love speaking it with you, and it's exciting. It's definitely served me well, built some good relationships, because you just know it's like the Latin culture, yes, it's very different. I don't just want to group it all into one, but again, family's very important, but family's more than just than blood. They really are one big family, and to be able to have that kind of connection, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. Tell me about the recruiting process while you were at IMG, because you said that the Air Force wasn't always on your radar. It wasn't always a dream of yours like it is for some people to be able to serve your country when you're done playing baseball, or even while you're playing baseball. So how did that land on your radar, and what were some of the other options?
Yeah. I was, like I said, it was at a tournament in Florida, and I was hitting really well against some really good arms down at UBC. I was feeling good, and it just kind of came out of nowhere. Coach Kaz called and said, "Hey, you want a $500,000 scholarship? Come play at the Air Force Academy." And it really made me think, like, okay, I could be, a baseball player and something more, and that's what really felt different. I talked with a bunch of other schools along the way that showed some interest, but Air Force seemed to really want me as a person, and I felt wanted and needed, and it just felt like a great place for me to continue playing the game, and then also adding something else.
So on your bio, this is a direct quote of why you chose to go to the academy. It says, quote, "To be elite in everything I do and to serve others." What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so that why's kind of changed, but I think it's still valid to who I am and central to what I do day in and day out. It goes back to something Coach Kaz told me on that first phone call. and it's really why I chose Air Force. He's like, if you want to be just an elite baseball player, go somewhere else. But if you want to be elite in everything you do, come here. And that's just always spoken to me, just trying to be excellent in every single thing I do. And it's one of the Air Force core values, just excellence in all we do, and that really speaks to me. And so whether it's in the classroom, military, on the ball field, just my relationship with others, I want to treat them well, I want to do my best, I want to learn, I want to grow, and just get a little bit better every single day.
I know you said you haven't actually flown planes yet or gotten to any of the big stuff that you're looking forward to, but what does it mean to you to be able to wear the red, white, and blue on a daily basis?
I don't really think I fully know what it means yet.
Yeah.
But it is special. I think during basic training, it was on July 4th where I kind of started to, they brought in one of these guys to talk about when he was in Iraq and just kind of what it meant to him and having to do the mission to save, he had to do his job to save his buddies.
Yeah. And
if he didn't execute, they were gonna die. And at the end of the day, there are bad people out there that are wolves. And Kaz has this letter in our locker room. It's just, we are the sheepdogs.
Yeah.
In this world, there's a lot of wolves that are gonna prey on the sheep, that are gonna prey on the innocent. And that's what the United States, America, the military, we've always been. We're the sheepdogs, we're the ones that are gonna go out there and fight, and it's on us to win. And so I've already gotten a small glimpse in that, but I'm sure as I go farther out, I'm gonna see that more. But just, to be someone that looks out for others, that protects the little guy, that does what's right, honorable, that speaks loudly to me. It speaks volumes to who I wanna be, to my faith, to serving others well. And I just think, I don't know if there's a greater calling or greater love to lay down your life for one's friends.
That's really cool. I really respect that point of view. I'm going to give you the floor here to sort of nerd out a bit if you want to. You were talking about the F-18s and what you're going to fly, so tell me as much as you can about the details of everything like that, what it takes to be a pilot, what you have to watch for, everything you've learned like that.
So far,
go into as much detail as you want to.
Yeah. So you have the F-16, which is, and the F-15. They're kind of, I guess, the fourth generation, or maybe fifth gen fighters. They were in the 70s and 80s. There's still plenty of them in the inventory. The F-15 is still the most air dominant fighter in the world. 104 air-to-air kills to 0.
Yeah.
So the F-15, the Eagle, is still elite. And then you have the F-16, which is the Viper. Single engine, used a little bit more for close air support and some different things. The F-22 is the newer air dominance fighter, came out in the early 2000s. And then the F-16 is kind of a very multi-role fighter, or not F-16, F-35, very multi-role fighter. But they're all great. I mean, fighter jets, they all have their different roles in the fight. And again, it's part of that team aspect. Talking with like a fighter pilot at Nellis, which is like the elite base for fighter pilots for fighter weapons school, which is the Air Force version of Top Gun, which it's 6 months versus 6 weeks.
Okay.
And don't let anyone fool you, it's much better. But he was like, it's part of a team. You have the F-16s that perform their role and execute at a high level, and the F-35s and the F-22s, and some are better at certain things versus others, and every aircraft has their strengths and weaknesses, and everyone just has to do their job in order for us to win. And then it comes down to cargo. I mean, the cargo planes, the abilities of the C-17 and the C-5. C-17 is more than just taking the Air Force baseball team to baseball games. It really is able to, it changes the game. You can take your troops wherever you need to go and land on a 2,000-foot runway with a big plane.
Wow.
And then the C-5 is just a monster. And the ability to be mobile with our troops and everything, with our cargo planes, that's honestly the greatest strength of the Air Force and biggest advantage that the Air Force has. And then you have the bombers, tankers. It's just all part of the mission set. And so
that's awesome.
To be able to fly fighters would be cool, but again, cargo would be cool. I hear they travel some cool paces, but I'd be lying to say I wouldn't want to be a fighter pilot. And I don't know who in the right mind wouldn't want to.
But